play of the game from way down.
Silence. Rainer getting absolutely
A team wipe.
The living bomb's going.
Oh my goodness, the ring. Bombstastic gonna find Rainer.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nexus Gaming series. I am Jayzon, and today I'm being joined by that guy. Let's get him back up on the screen correctly, Mongoose, and back again for Season 8, first match this season. Mongoose, how you doing, man?
Good, man. I hope I remember how to cast, and I hope you remember who's who.
Right, exactly. And boy, you know, I said I was going to put your name and stuff on there, but you know, just totally forgot. But we'll.
It's a lazy Sunday, my man.
We'll get it rolling. I'm surprised I don't already have you up there, because you were probably the last one I casted with, I would imagine. But either way, we got a big Division A match coming up here. Main Tank Uther versus Minion Miners. Now, I've been a little bit out of the loop recently, Mongoose, but of course you've been in the thick of things playing in NGS. Now, I remember Minion Miners well. They've been a team in NGS for a long time. But Main Tank Uther, I don't think that's a name I've heard before.
Yeah, Main Tank Uther, if I remember correctly, let me check my notes. They are a new team this season, but not entirely new players. Minion Miners, of course, a long-time amateur competitive team in NGS. They were in Division B last season, had a really, really strong season, bumped up to Division A for the first time this season. They actually were struggling just a little bit in the start of the season, but they've started to kind of play how we're used to seeing, you know, make that adjustment to the higher division, and they're actually sitting in 7th place with a overall winning map record at 10-9. So in those teams at the bottom of the playoff hunt, so they're right in the thick of it.
Yeah, so a big match for them, trying to get, because we are gearing up towards the end of the season, so we'll be looking forward to going into playoffs soon, and every point counts down the stretch here, not just for qualifying, but also for that ever-important seeding to try and get a decent matchup.
New follower detected.
And Main Tank Uther, actually sitting in 10th place, but they have a game in hand over the teams ahead of them. So they're also right in the middle of it for that 8th spot. So every point's going to count for both these guys, really.
Yeah, let me just let our teams know that we are ready to go. And Iron Banker 2, thank you very much for the follow. My first follow in a very long time, but to be fair, you know, I haven't been streaming NGS that much. That's where most of those follows normally come from, but I appreciate it very much. And looks like you guys are ready to go, so let's get on in for game number 1. Here, our first map, we are going to Volskaya Foundry.
And I like, Jay, that you just moved, and the first thing you unpacked, probably sitting on boxes, is the sweet NGS plaque behind you.
That's right. Well, you know, that's gotta be one of my coolest things that I own over there. That hand carved. That first time they did a caster award there, shared that with, of course, the illustrious and well-known, most popular caster overall in NGS throughout the seasons, Bahamut.
Correct. Yep.
But so
might
many
as
great
well
casters
name
have come out since then.
Yeah, there have been a lot, but Baha, you know, we may as well just name the award after him, kind of at this point.
Right, for sure. All right, well, let's get on in here. Now, a few new heroes have even jumped into the game since I've really been, you know, casting, particularly Deathwing. I did see him get a pretty big patch changeover, though.
Doesn't matter, he's still good, Jay. The meta now is if you are second pick, as you're seeing here, you have to ban Ariel and Deathwing, and that's why first pick is so good. They buffed Ariel's Resurrect. It is really, really good. So basically, second pick now is permaban Deathwing, Ariel, and you don't get to use your bans, actually, if you're second pick.
Well, there we go. Yeah, somebody had told me Ariel was on top. I know that much, which is really cool. She was one of my favorite healers back in the day, with just not having that mana consumption, but a completely unique mechanic to how she generates that healing. But of course, Lucio going to be taken out here, so a little bit of healer trade-off, and the mobility you can get, especially on this map for Volskaya with that rotation, can be really, really helpful with that Lucio.
Yeah, you referenced the patch Tuesday as, like I said, second pick.
There
you
it
got
is.
Ban Deathwing and Ariel, and that was the major take home from the patch earlier this week. A lot of heroes were touched, but most of them were just, a little tweak here, a little tweak there. Didn't really matter too much. But the two big ones was Deathwing had a nice round of nerfs, and Ariel had Resurrection specifically. The cast time was doubled from a half a second to a second, and the range was decreased from 7 to 5. They're trying to make that more interruptible and more dangerous to cast, and it doesn't matter, it's still really good. First pick Abathur for main tank Uther. Minion Miners responding with Alexstrasza, really great on those shrine points with the Dragon Queen form. And master of the solo lane, Rexar and Misha themselves.
Yeah, really interesting first pick with that Abathur. Good lane control throughout the match, being able to get some extra soak value during these long control point phases as you're going back and forth with that charge, but also good lane push to occasionally be able to get a little extra in your favor. But Alexstrasza, of course, a great on-point healer, and very popular with that Dragon Queen before level 10. As soon as this map came out, she was instantly one of the best picks here. Yeah,
and right now the tank meta, kind of JoJo, ETC, kind of the best generalist tanks right now. So not surprised to see Joe there. I wouldn't be surprised to see an ETC ban here. If I remember correctly, Minion Miners does play ETC. I'm actually checking right now in good old Stats of the Storm. Actually, Johanna's their most played tank, and they have played a little bit of ETC, but not too much. Anubarak is their next most played tank, so they're actually going to ban out the Anubarak and maybe force Minion Miners into Cho'Gall, of course.
Well, there you go. Alexstrasza, of course, with that percentage-based healing, can really lay into that Cho'Gall in terms of bringing him back up. And just a little trade on chokeholds there for that second ban phase. Tanks focused there for the side of main tank Uther. Minion Miners focusing on the healing game.
Yeah, and Cho'Gall, we didn't talk about the meta, is something that's kind of making a little bit of a comeback now, going with the Leo percentage damage and the Anduin. So main tank Uther will have Cursed Bullet and the Drain Hope to help deal with the Cho'Gall. And I assume some kind of ranged carry, although in Division S, one of the Division S teams in NA is winning a lot with Cho'Gall, and they're running double support, like double bruiser Cho'Gall, like no tank, no backliner. They're doing, okay, that's not what Minion Miners here is doing, but they're running like a like Sonya, Cho'Gall, Uther, Rhaegar, and kind of running over people.
Well, that would have been an interesting idea here because Rexar almost functions as a backline range DPS in a lot of ways. But, you can also make the same argument for Rexar. He's got Misha up front, so you kind of have that pseudo-secondary tank to have somebody up front, and that gives a little bit more room for Jaina to operate. I would say that the side of main tank Uther can be a little bit divey, though, with the Leo, Johanna being able to kind of control the area up front, and, of course, that Greymane who can jump in. And if he gets onto that Jaina, it's lights out.
Yep, that's going to be on Misha Bear to keep them on, and hopefully the ice block once that comes online for Jaina. So first game back for a little while. My first cast back this season, I got to Murky game, and first game back you get a Cho'Gall game. So we're batting 1,000.
Cho'Gall and Abathur, all kinds of great stuff coming out here in this first one. And well, Sky Foundry, admittedly, never been one of my favorite maps, but it is a very interesting dynamic that causes quite a lot of team fighting throughout these control points. And of course, the very unique mechanic of these toys you essentially get to play with throughout the match.
Yeah, this battlefield has a couple of different dynamics that make it unique amongst the map pool. The two-man Rock'em Sock'em robot objective, but also that there's only one mercenary camp that pushes down lanes. The other ones are a turret and a biotic emitter, and one of the things that I don't particularly like on it is if you get ahead, it allows you to get more toys, which allows you to get further ahead. It can be snowbally sometimes, so that's not a particular facet of it that I am fond of. But at the same time, these kind of long, drawn-out battles over these points leads to some pretty fun stuff sometimes, especially with the crazy conveyor belts at point C on the bottom lane there.
Well, I'm really showing my ring rust here. Goose on not casting for a while. Let's not be rude and introduce these teams. On the left, we've got main tank Uther. We've got J-Lux going to be on the Gray main. We've got Tax, 1A, going to be on the Johanna. We've got Thunderstruck on Leoric. Tsuyuki going to be playing the Anduin. And up top, we've got Jimmy playing the Abathur.
And for the Minion Miners, we have Urdak on Gaul, Himibo on Cho, combining for Himradak. That's how I'm going to say that. Uther on Rexar and Misha, Westra on Alex Straza, and New Flash on Jaina. Speaking of toys, both teams, as soon as they were up, Jay, went right to their turret. Tax is going to go ahead and poke the little flashlight over here, make sure everybody's accounted for. However, Leoric is in trouble. Misha Bear putting a hurt on Janitor Leoric there.
Yeah, Leo's been low in that lane for quite a bit. He is surviving slowly but surely with that drain, but you know, of course, Rexar, a well-renowned solo laner throughout this game for quite a long time, but that ranged ability along with the control that Misha gives is going to be a rough matchup for Leo.
Yeah, I think Rexar is honestly just one of the toughest solo matchups around into any hero. There's not really any one matchup that Rexar really struggles into, really solid in the solo lane right now.
You can see the normal 4-1 rotation starting for the side of the Minion Miners. Now, of course, main tank Uther going to be down a man with the Abathur, but Abba just kind of sitting up in the top lane, putting a little extra pressure with those minions popping out, and the rotation just fine for the side of main tank Uther to be able to at least keep up the soak and more or less keep up just a slight level lead right now for the Minion Miners, less than half a level.
Yeah, I think the level difference came as there was a little bit of top soak missed by main tank Uther. I think that's where that came from. But objective going to pop here in 25 seconds. Main tank Uther did already get their mercenaries top. Looks like Himdrak on Cho'Gall will clear that out. And then we'll have the advantage of their own mercenaries pushing during the objective. However, here comes main tank Uther, and Cho'Gall's caught out a little, Jay.
Yeah, he's way out there, but it is Cho'Gall. He's got a lot of health. He's going to have that nudge to be able to push him back in the right direction. And the cavalry coming up top as well, so we're going to have that healing coming in. The cocktail over the wall just to poke out, maybe see a little bit of vision there. Misha scouting around up top too, as we do have the control point A started, and Thunderstruck going to have it to start for the side of main tank Uther.
Yeah, and I like this fight. Minion Miners going to go ahead and secure the biotic emitter, and then they'll go ahead and probably get 7-step on the point. There's no need to rush down on the objectives. It doesn't matter if you get it at 100 or 0, you know.
That said, they don't want to wait too long. They do have Abba soaking in the bot lane. He will be able to continually get more and more of this soak the longer this phase goes. So I think for Minion Miners, they have the man advantage until level 10. Plus they have the Alex Raza, so they want to push the issue. And here they are doing just that. They're going to put down the biotic emitter. Big condemn coming in from Tax on the other side, though. Overtime going to be forced here. Misha getting very low, but it's Alex Straza who goes down first as Thunderstruck walks in. They get to the Jaina, the ooey gooey center of Minion Miners, and main tank Uther going to secure themselves the first protector here in this matchup.
I'm a little confused by that, because it seemed like Minion Miners was making the stand there, but they used the biotic emitter but not the turret. I feel like if you're gonna draw your line in the sand, and you drop all your toys in and go, but they didn't use the turret till the very end, at which point the fight was already decided.
I think when you're going into draft here and you're picking Abathur, you're almost assuming on the side of main tank Uther that they're not going to get this first protector. So this is a big win for the side of main tank Uther. They should scale into the later game a little bit better. Of course, Cho'Gall scales pretty well also, but you know, once they get that ultimate evolution at 10, this main tank Uther will have even more of an advantage than they've already started to get here in the early.
Yeah, absolutely. Cho'Gall's kind of renowned for not really Cho'Gall, Abathur, not really coming online fully until level 10. It's just one of those things you have to play around. So securing that early Rock'em Sock'em Robot getting about 40% of a level lead here. Main tank Uther doing good in the early game. Minion Miners, though, playing clean, going down to the turret. No such mirror move from main tank Uther yet. Now there they go.
Yeah, they do eventually make their way down there. One thing I will point out, nice job by Minion Miners shoving them off there. That protector did not get the well up top, so the shield has now come back. That's something main tank Uther is going to have to work for if they want to eliminate that before control point B here.
Yeah, I'm surprised main tank Uther didn't go a little bit harder into that well. Usually when you secure the first protector, that's your goal. You really push in on that well, but they kind of just let it burn out and kind of walked away. Blessed Shield onto Jaina, and down she goes fast. Nice party there by main tank Uther. Nice thing too about that Blessed Shield is it'll be up for the next objective.
Yeah, Ultimate Evolution popped as well. 2 relatively low cooldown moves there, and they knew that if they could get that advantage, get that 10, and take some kind of fight quickly, these periods between control points are pretty long. You're going to get their heroics back. So get that extra kill, get a little extra advantage here in the top, and maybe look to make something out of this. But level 10's now coming in for Minion Miners. They're trying to push the issue. Big stuns coming down onto Johanna, and she just barely lives with about 100 health. A little bit of help from that After Hat and the shielding. They're still trying to push the issue. Thunderstruck stuck in the blizzard. Again, the Avatar Hat comes out, the symbiote. Healing up, keeping them alive right now. And that secondary support Avatar coming in handy here for the side of main tank Uther.
Yeah, but with Leo and Johanna so low, Minion Miners recognizing that, they're going to push in, and they're going to get the aforementioned well and some structure damage with the mercenaries here. Misha Bear does finally go down. Minion Miners withdrawing, but the brawl continues. Cho'Gall now in trouble. Condemned, punished, drained hope, dead. Down goes Misha Bear. Down goes Cho'Gall at the worst possible time for Minion Miners.
Yeah, that was a big, big win for Minion Miners. Turned into a big, big win for main tank Uther. They overstayed their welcome a little too much. I think they could have just gotten that well and backed up and had their victory. But now we're going to see another of these support camps going over to the side of main tank Uther. One more toy, that biotic emitter, going to be here for this next control phase. And everybody's spreading out right now, getting a little bit of XP. Nobody going right to the point. The Thunderstruck will eventually make his way up there, and the charge will start from main tank Uther.
Yeah, and that also secured them that 13 talent advantage. Let's go ahead and go over our heroics for main tank Uther. Cursed Bullet, as shown by putting it right into Cho'Gall there. Entomb, Ultimate Evolution, Blessed Shield, and no Light Bomb. Actually going to be Holy Word Salvation for Anduin.
That's an interesting pick. There's not a whole lot of interrupts over on the side of Minion Miners, so I really like that choice. But going over Minion Miners heroics, we are going to see that Twisting Nether for Gall, Twilight Hammer for Cho. We're going to see that is Bestial Wrath, actually. Going to bring Nisha up a peg there, along with Life Finder and the Water Elemental. So overall, some pretty interesting heroic combinations there. Big point control possibilities, as they do get 13, but it's going to be too little too late. Already got that charge up for the Triglav, and now it'll be marching on down the lane, going after this top 4.
Yeah, and the Greymane clone was used pretty early there, so they didn't get maximum value out of it. And it's already gone, so Minion Miners certainly has to note that. They have to note they're on same talent tier, so let's see if Minion Miners kind of looks for something, maybe a counter engage on the back of the Triglav going down, as Greymane has hit this Cho'Gall with a number of cursed bullets here.
Big target, Mongoose. Hard to miss. That's part of the reason the counter's so good. I mean, the mechanic is great, but he makes for an easy target.
And this is the second time that main tank Uther has gotten the robot, not gotten a whole lot of siege damage done with it. And Tomb doesn't get too many. Blessed Shield was there for the initiate, but no great follow-up, and kind of a running skirmish continues. Now Cho'Gall getting turned on as he overstayed, and down they go again. Rexar also in trouble. He's gonna fall. Main tank Uther not looking like the kind of lower-rated team here. They're looking real good.
3-for-nothing exchange, and the side of Minion Miners used one of their turrets there, so main tank Uther getting the 3-0, baiting out one of the toys. Now they're going to get some of that siege damage that they kind of missed, not really getting too much off of the Triglav. But ideally, you kind of like to see a team march down to the bot lane and try and get this well with that Triglav. They're making up for lost time here while the members of Minion Miners respawn and they get closer to that level 16. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, if main tank Uther, I mean, you really can't complain about what they're doing. They're up 16-14, you know, up 8-0 in kills. Man, but if they had maximized those Triglavs, they'd actually be up even harder.
Right.
The Minion Miners have really shined defending the Triglav Protector.
Meanwhile, nice camp steal there. They take advantage of that 16 talent tier, knowing they got the numbers, seeing the members of Minion Miners spread out on the map, seeing that ping up top, and meanwhile, Cho'Gall having to take the long way out there as a big rotation coming in from main tank Uther, trying to cut him off. The vision coming in from Cho'Gall, kind of keeping an eye on him, but that is going to be another support camp going. And they're starting to collect these toys, getting ready for maybe one last stand here. The level 16 will be in for Minion Miners, but it's not going to matter that much because if they have all the toys for the sides of main tank Uther.
Well, that's what I was saying in the beginning, on kind of the dynamics of this map. Main tank Uther here is up, and because they're up, they have all of the toys, which will help keep them up. But Greymane isn't here, so this is a huge opportunity for Minion Miners. Tax forced to use Iron Skin early, but now the team has arrived. Dragon Queen popped 3 members, caught in the Entomb, and once again, not going well for Minion Miners. Alex Straza goes down. Jaina shortly to follow. Cho'Gall and Rexar running for their lives. 2 more kills for main tank.
That was a really great engage to start by Minion Miners, but that had to be a gank and run scenario for them. The Greymane was not there, which means their best ultimate evolution target was not there. So it could have been a 5-for-3, but it wouldn't be that for very long. They let the Greymane rotate down. They got caught out in the lane before 16. And now the snowball is on. Main tank Uther rolling through that bottom fort, and now working on this keep front wall.
Absolutely, yeah. Main tank Uther has looked fantastic. Really, the only point to be hyperly critical on is the not total maximization of the Triglav. But that's pretty nitpicky. They've looked super good. Up 2 levels. Minion Miners probably going to get aggressive here now because they are seeing talent tier. This is their opportunity. Leoric is not here. Tax in trouble. The leap of faith by Anduin pulls him to safety, but Minion Miners still looking for more.
So clutch there from Taiku. Meanwhile, big damage down on Tax. Johanna goes down. So a bit of a turnaround there. Big life finder as well, paired with that stasis. But in comes the Twilight Hammer to interrupt that big ult from Anduin. No protection there. Greymane is going to go down, and look out, Minion Miners are coming back here, Goose. Thunderstruck is also going to get very low. He's going to try and Wraithwalk away. Does manage to get out a huge root onto Cho'Gall. Going to be able to keep him alive and push him back there. But the point is ultimately going to go over to Minion Miners. Great trade as they're down multiple levels. Going to get a little bit of that XP back off the deal.
Yeah, you could see the kind of veteran team there in Minion Miners. As soon as that 16-18 point hit, they were like full speed ahead. This is our shot. They went really aggressive. Johanna got out of the first engagement, but they knew that Pull was down. They knew that Iron Skin was down, and they stayed right on top of Johanna and secured that first kill.
It's another one of those cases of, you try to get that gank, but if it doesn't work, you got to kind of reel it back in, especially when your team is split like that. They do manage to come in. They are going to get the point back here on the verge of 20. So it may not cost them too much at this point. They do have the advantage here in the charge from earlier. Going to allow them to charge it back up. And Minion Miners wisely just going to back off. Not going to take that level 20 fight. They're going to try and cut their losses here and keep the damage to a minimum.
Yeah, that's a tough decision to make. Honestly, I could argue that either way. You know, at this point, if you give the Triglav Protector Although they defended it really well this game, so maybe they're taking that into consideration. But without a front wall in this bottom lane, you're almost conceding a keep, you know.
Right. I do think, though, if you take the fight, you might be conceding more when you're down these 20s. Meanwhile, they have pretty good anti-siege damage. They've shown that throughout the match. We'll see if Minion Miners can defend quite as well as they have all game. The Triglav being laid into here. Misha going to be the first to fall. Cannon fodder here for main tank Uther as they march on through. Big ice block to keep No Flash alive for the moment. Trying to dance back and forth in the middle of this fight. Getting the heals up. Meanwhile, the Triglav taking a ton of damage to keep down to about a quarter health. They're going to pop the ultimate evolution, but big damage coming in despite that down from No Flash once again. He will fall, however, from the Triglav on the backside.
And they almost defended that, but Clone Greymane, really good usage, just YOLO'd in to get that keep, and there's no reason not to do that. So nice play there by main tank Uther. Actually well played by both sides, very clean.
Right, that's about as good of a result as you can expect out of that scenario. If you're Minion Miners, they're staying in the game. They're going to get to that level 20. They even had top pushing a little bit, so they're getting a little something out of this exchange. And, you know, they will play on and look for control point A number 2 here after they get this level 20.
And Buried Alive, one of the biggest level 20 power spikes now on board for main tank Uther here. Also worth noting, Hunter's Blunderbuss, the splash from Greymane makes him much more powerful post 20. The splash on that particular talent is pretty generous.
Indestructible also coming online, so that's going to be a big deal for Johanna. Double Leap of Faith, so a little bit of extra get out of jail free cards here for main tank Uther. But we'll have to see what Minion Miners is going to come up with to try and counter it. Right now, they're just trying to keep they're trying to manage the damage done here while this level 20 spike is here for main tank Uther. They'll have to give up one last fortification camp, so a couple of extra toys going to be here for main tank Uther. But the level 20 is coming in soon. Still there, Goose?
I am. Sorry,
Oh,
I got pinged in the middle of all that, yeah.
That's all right.
But now we do have 20s on board for Minion Miners. And I was wondering if they were going to take the spawn cooldown reduction. But no. So let's see which side got the better 20 power spike here, Jay.
Well, I'll tell you what, Wintermute, definitely one of the strongest level 20 talents in the game. Just the spike damage alone that can come in from that for Jaina is just kind of ridiculous when she lays down that water elemental. So we'll see how this hashes out, but it does look like Minion Miners are looking to find something. They've got Leoric at about half health. He's got a turret on him as well, so they can force him to drop it or possibly lose it. Speaking of that, we will see Tax dropping one, so that's kind of a victory for Minion Miners in and of itself. They might lose Misha for the trouble, but they do manage to bait out one of those toys.
Yeah, not just that, Cursed Bullet went out and missed. But I like when the clone went out that Minion Miners kind of backed up. They're going to wait it out and then re-engage on that. You really don't want to fight into the clone. They're also really respecting Buried Alive as they should. But clone not here. I kind of thought Minion Miners would be coming down by now, and here they go. Now here comes Cho'Gall trying to catch somebody, anybody. Cursed Bullet goes out, doesn't hit again, but main tank Uther has already withdrawn.
Yeah, they will fall on back to the point. Start getting charge here, but still quite a lot of time. We've got 2 turrets and a biotic emitter for main tank Uther, but like I said, no clone. They are coming out, starting to engage a little bit. They get buried alive on Jaina. Meanwhile, we see Johanna jumping in there I should say Cho'Gall jumping in there as well. A ton of damage on the return though, and big heals coming in from Alex Straza with that Dragon Queen. Thunderstruck in there very low, but getting healed by Anduin, but ultimately goes down to the Blizzard and that Jaina damage. Meanwhile, how low is Cho'Gall going to get in this fight before the heal comes in? Big percentage-based healing from that circle of healing from Alexstrasza. Back and forth they go, but it looks like Minion Miners are pushing forward. Big leap of faith to try and get Johanna out of there. We will see Indestructible pops and the healing coming back in. But Minion Miners win the point for right now, Goose.
But meanwhile, look at top keep. That's going to go down for Minion Miners. Abathur. Recently, the little locust thing was actually buffed. So Abathur was sitting just outside this gate that whole time, putting a lot of pressure on this top keep, and down it goes. Forced Minion Miners back, actually.
Now, there's the advantage of Abathur. Constantly being passive on the map, getting things done without, having to be directly in the thick of things. And it's just kind of a slow bleed. But the longer the game goes, the more that Abathur is able to kind of give you that advantage. 5% left. Nimr gonna have Cho'Gall gonna have to jump in to try and force overtime here, but on the backside, look out. And Toon comes in. Circle of healing having to be popped there just to keep Rexar alive. They are getting decent damage return here, but Cho'Gall getting very, very low, getting one last heal, but will fall to the Abathur damage of all things. And we will see the march coming in from main tank Uther through the mid here. And they're not even bothering with the Trick Lob just yet. Leo will finally go back to get it, but that should be the beginning of the end here for main tank Uther.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy on the Abathur did a real nice job of positioning aggressively to get maximum siege pressure with the little locust bug things, but not really ever putting himself in trouble. And at the end there, poor Minion Miners was caught between a rock and a hard place. They had pressure on core, they had pressure on keeps, but they also couldn't let main tank Uther get the Triglav, so they were kind of just pulled in too many different directions, and a really clean, impressive game there by main tank Uther.
Alrighty, well, let's get on over to the match summary here. Take a look at some of these numbers. We didn't bring them out. I'll have to apologize, guys. This is my first match back in a while, so I didn't flip over a lot of the stats. But we will get one last look at them. 9 kills for Greymane in that matchup, just dominating on the stat sheet. And, it showed in game. Those Curse Bullets, very, very effective. And just in general, big chunk damage onto that Cho'Gall was one of the big reasons they were able to eventually wear him down so often throughout the match.
Yeah, and a victory here for in this matchup for main tank Uther would really glut up the bottom of Division A and make these last 2 weeks, because Division A is 1 week longer, the last 2 weeks of the season pretty crazy for that final playoff spot. So
We'll give you guys one quick look at these talents, and then we will go to a quick break while we set up for game number 2. I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching here. We will be back in just a couple of moments. See you guys for game 2. Alrighty, we are back. Game number 2 coming up for you here. We have Dragonshire going to be game number 2 as main tank Uther look to finish off the series with the domination, get themselves the max points, and like you said, make it very interesting here for the playoff window for Division A.
And not surprising, Minion Miners off the loss went for first pick because it's so impactful for control of the draft and the meta right now. So that's not surprising at all. So this is the map pick of main tank Uther.
Also, for those wondering about the lag issues, I messed with a couple settings, see if it's any better. Otherwise, I'll have some fun work to do for my next cast. But either way, let's get in here for game number 2. Dragonshire are going to be the map. Very rotation-heavy map. Globals very, very strong here. And just in general, you're looking for team fight ability and gank ability on this map.
And I think is that a new player for Minion Miners? Sir Mac of Cheese? I don't think was in last match. Am I crazy?
I mean, if you had called that name, I think it definitely would have stood out to me. So that does seem right to me.
So
by the way, that's a great username.
Yeah, and first, it just like I said the first game, your second ban, it's Ariel Deathwing. Minion Miners actually gets to use their bans this game, and they opted for Greymane, which makes a lot of sense because Greymane was hugely impactful in Game 1. Yeah,
and that makes a lot of sense, especially if you're wanting. This is of course backwards logic, but if you're wanting to go in for a Cho'Gall strategy, you definitely want to take him out first. I was even a little surprised that they picked it into Greymane in the first place, especially with 2 more picks coming up, more opportunities to counter it. But of course, they had a couple of good synergistic things with it. They just weren't quite able to pull it off, and that slow bleed from Abathur was really the problem. We'll have to see if Abathur comes into play on this map. It's a little bit less common here, but it's not impossible to get some decent impact out of Abathur here on Dragonshire.
Worth noting, they opted to ban Johanna instead of Deathwing.
Yeah.
So Deathwing is available. I assume Minion Miners is at least thinking about it. I wonder if they don't play a lot of it and they're a little surprised by it. Well, let's see. They are going to stick with the Rexar. So Deathwing still on the board. I know some teams have been lessening the priority since early this week. I still think Deathwing is really strong myself, but also Minion Miners really leans on that Johanna, so targeted there, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, neither team is going in for the Deathwing. Here, I was thinking I was going to get my first match getting to see him, but we'll see. I feel like if he doesn't get picked here, he probably won't make it through the next ban phase. But Garrosh, Zarya coming in, very interesting combination. An interesting potential front line. But also, of course, Rexar very good on this map. His point control up top within that solo lane can be ridiculous. Meanwhile, Lunara and Lucio coming out. So you're going to have to help me here, Mongoose. I have no idea what's going on with this draft.
You and me both, and I just checked the old handy-dandy stats of the Storm. Both of these teams have played Deathwing in an NGS game, so they have a Deathwing player. So I don't know, maybe they feel it has fallen farther than I think, but I'm pretty surprised to see it make to the second bans here. There's the ETC ban, so really choking the tanks from Minion Miners out. Let's see if the Deathwing ban comes out here, question mark?
Yeah, just like you said. Well, I don't know why they would. Would you run Garrosh and Deathwing?
I mean, I don't see why you couldn't. Deathwing you can stick in the solo lane and put the Zarya, Garrosh in the 4-man. But instead they're going to take out the Vala, kind of eliminate the hypercarry option that you like to pair the kind of pseudo second support Zarya with a Vala.
Yeah, I like that adjustment from Minion Miners. Again, very experienced team, here in NGS. They've seen that combination several times. Not focusing on the meta bans so much, but trying to dissect exactly what main tank Uther is going for and just trying to stop it with those bans.
I mean, so what they're going for is very clear. It's going to be a speed, shield, garrosh, flip into mouth roots, and Jaina blows whoever the unlucky person is up. Tychus taken for minion miners. And now last pick going to be a tank. Their Stats of the Storm suggest this will be a Nubarak, and that's who it is.
Now, do you think the Tychus is a denial pick, is another, like good tool for that blow-up combination for main tank Uther, or do you think it's just a counter to the Garrosh?
I'm not sure. My guess would be a counter to the Garrosh. And let's see how they have played a lot of Lunara this season. But not a lot of Tychus. This is only the third Tychus game for Minion Miners. Going back to the Leoric, so solo damage Jaina, that can be problematic sometimes because she's so cooldown based. So if they don't get value out of her cycle of cooldowns, it's going to put them at a disadvantage. But the Minion Miners is really going to have the burden of positioning on them because they cannot get caught by Garrosh. Like anybody that's not a Nubarak, frankly, cannot be caught by Garrosh or Misha Bear.
Yeah, I think main tank Uther can pull it off with this combination. When you think of the combo itself, it's going to be based off of Garrosh's cooldowns, Malfroot, and Jaina cooldowns, and that's up pretty frequently, and it has a relatively similar cooldown ratio from what I remember. So as long as the execution is there, as long as they're not constantly throwing out the Jaina spells, she's as long as JLux is saving it for that combination and those kills, I don't see why it couldn't work. But it all depends on that execution level, and the way they executed in game number 1, I don't see any reason why they couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, but I will say it's a little bit one-dimensional.
Sure.
What they're trying to do here, right? It's either going to be the Garrosh flip or a Leo and Tomb, but that's about it.
Right.
And then if Lucio gets a good, sound barrier, can really ruin their whole day. But let's see how game 2 here goes. Main tank Uther wearing the blue trunks. Tax will be on Garrosh, Jimmy on Zarya, Tayuki on Malfurion, Thunderstruck on Leoric, JLux on Jaina. I feel like I missed somebody, but I did not.
2, 1.
Alrighty, and we are going to follow your camera here, Goose. Let's see. Thought I had that in correctly, but either way, on the right, we've got Minion Miners. We've got Himibo going to be on that Nubarak. Sir Mac and Cheese in here on Lunara, getting tossed in and almost destroyed, but is able to stay up there. We're going to have Indrak playing the Tychus. Wesker going to be playing the Lucio, and up top we've got Bruther going to be on the Rexar.
Yeah, and then if you're Minion Miners, that's what can't happen. Tax actually missed the follow-up Q, but if he would have hit that, Lunara was toast. Definitely toast.
Another toss there, but not quite finding the mark. And we will see the rotation down to the bot lane. This is what main tank Uther wants to do, though. They want to rotate in a very tight grouping. They want to find squishies out in the middle of nowhere that Garrosh can get to. And of course that combo will become more potent throughout the match as the talents come in. But meanwhile, up top, we do see the matchup that we saw last game. Same scenario going on here. Rexar versus the Leo. So a lot of that matchup's going to come straight down to the Drain of Hope and not much else, I think, Goose.
Yeah, so much of this game, Jay, is just going to be positioning. On Minion Miners in particular. How easy is it for Garrosh to get the throw? How much damage does he have to take, or poke does he have to take to walk into the combination? If he gets in there clean and just gets these free hucks, it's going to be a long day, but if they make him work for it, and they keep the slows on him and dismount him and make it so he can't actually get those tosses, that's when they're going to have value.
We just see a focus here early onto the Shrines, and Nubarak actually in the mid trying to pick it up. Is going to be able to get it, and that is pretty much an instant Dragon Knight coming in for Minion Miners. So a big start to this matchup for them. They're looking to try and force us to a game 3. And this is exactly how you want to start out this game number 2 if you're over on the side of Minion Miners.
That's one way to end Tychus's minigun, just throw him over the wall.
Get out of here.
Knock that off. You stop it right now.
Meanwhile, we do see the siege beginning here. A little bit of anti-siege potential out of main tank Uther. That Jaina going to be able to do chunk damage, but not constant damage. Meanwhile, we do see the wall going down. To start, we get nice damage from Sir Mac and Cheese on the back end, but Lunara all out of mana. One of those turrets will go down, big damage to the wall, and they'll go ahead and take it back here. Don't want to be caught out by this combination for main tank Uther. So you're going to look to just kind of stand back and poke if they can. Nice boot coming in to try and prevent it. But ultimately, Tychus does get tossed in. The healing coming through, but is he going to be enough? No. Malfurion gets the final blow there. Jaina going to go down in return, though, here, Goose.
Yeah, the little trading of kills there. And I like, if you watch Sir Mac and Cheese, I like what he's trying to do, which is basically just, like, harass Garrosh constantly. Keep the slows, keep the auto attacks and the dot on him, make him work for everything. So it's a nice strat. It's annoying to be that Garrosh. And, you know, that early Dragon Knights aren't particularly strong, so Minion Miners actually got pretty good value out of that thing. I mean, almost a full front wall in the bottom lane.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely got that started. Not much of a level advantage, though, of any kind here. It's pretty even on both sides still, so like I said, not super influential, and it was really, really early. Like, it was a 2 minute...
minute and 50 seconds.
Right.
So super early.
So, you know, getting this match started off quickly, and, you know, good defense overall, I think, for main tank Uther there. They did what they needed to do. 1-1 on the kill count, and no real advantage gain just yet. We'll see if anybody else can get things done here as the rotation comes in. They're looking for a Nubarak, but he's slippery. He's going to slide right out towards the mid lane. And look at Tychus with that monster flank. He's going to dash out, though. Bold and daring flank from Tychus, but he does have that mobility. Yeah, that's one of the things I do see from all of the members of Minion Miners. They have some kind of form of extra mobility to be able to try and keep them out of trouble and keep them away from Garrosh here.
Yeah, that's actually something I was going to say. Himibo on that Anubarak needs to be very selective with his aggressive burrow charges.
Yeah.
Because that's his best tool if he gets caught out, so he really needs to pick his spots. Obviously, if you're a Nubrak, you can't not use it aggressively, right? Because that just takes a big tool out of your toolbox. He has to selectively use it aggressively as a nice root goes down, but Malfurion pays for it as Malf traded out for Lucio. And if you're going to get caught out and killed by Minion Miners, that's how you want to do it. Just trade out at the minimum.
Right, and you know, I'll tell you what, Tax kind of missed the toss there, just kind of threw him in place. And Malfurion stepped up to try and make up for it. Did get the root. It was a good root and a good kill, but now, especially, main tank Uther starting to pay for being a little bit too far out here. And I will say this much, I feel like the rotation game, definitely not what main tank Uther wanted it to be, especially with this combination and Lucio on the other side, helping them to be able to rotate a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and not just that, you know, their main wave clear is Jaina, and if she uses her cooldowns for wave clear, she's not using her cooldowns to do what their comp is designed to do, right? So she has to kind of pick her spots, and they're just kind of falling a little bit behind here in the rotations because they're so cooldown based. If they don't get max value out of their cooldowns, they're in trouble. But there is the expulsion zone. Welly goes out as well. The danger ping is coming as Leoric was sort of in a flanking position, but he's staying in mid to cover the channel, actually. So a couple of ultis used for main tank Uther. Only the one used by Minion Miners, but Leoric forced to spooky walk his way to safety. And once again, DK picked up by the Minion Miners.
Yeah, nice combination of rotations, picking good fights there. by the Minion Miners, and now they're going to be able to really reap the benefits with the 6-minute DK. Should be a little bit more impactful than the 2-minute one. And we are going to see a nice bomb coming out. Going to kind of put Yuki in a weird place. Does get tossed away, though, by the Garrosh. Nice repositioning there. Web Wrap goes down onto Jaina, and they're trying to collapse in on that point. The Dragon Knight way out front, trying to get some damage laid down. Twilight Dream on the backside is going to at least stifle the advance here of Minion Miners. The kick out, though, puts Thunderstruck way on the backside where he doesn't want to be. Going to try and lock back in. Actually finds Uther coming out of that dragon, but still is going to go down. But Uther in a weird spot. Very, very low. They're trying to pursue, but Lucio going to help them get out with their 1-for-0 exchange.
Yeah, that was a interesting little brouhaha there. I thought Jaina was in trouble on the cocoon, but Hemibo is just like a half a second early on his Q to lock her in, so they weren't able to finish it off. Despite that, though, main tank Uther is just going to come out and say, this is ours now, thank you. But let's talk about heroics, Jay, maybe in a moment, because something's happening.
Right. Just constant action here as we see Anubarak get taunted after being tossed in. Burrow Charge is good, though, to get him out, so you will get an opportunity to take a look at these level 10s. We do have Water Elemental, Entomb, Expulsion Zone, Warlord's Challenge, and the Twilight Dream for side of main tank.
That time, Hemibo hit it just right, but the Into the Fray gets Jaina out for now, except for Lunara jumping all over the back with the leaping strikes, and they do get the Jaina. Garrosh in trouble because he had to really put himself out there to try to save the Jaina. Now Leo coming out on the flank, he's in trouble, forces Spooky walk away, but with those Lucio rollerblades, not going to happen. 2 more unanswered kills for main tank Uther. In the meantime, level 10s, we have a Sound Barrier, Cocoon, Unleash the Boars this time, Leaping Strike, and Commandeer Odin for Minion Miners.
Expulsion Zone gonna stop the advance for the moment, particularly of those that siege camp that had just been picked up. Nice steal as Minion Miners continuing to push their advantage. Level and a half lead now as well, right as the shrines are coming up. So they've got that 13 talent tier advantage. They've got the rotational advantage. And we'll see if they can turn it into another Dragon Knight here.
Yeah, this much cleaner game from this, and I think a lot of what's going on here, because you kind of watch as these teams go at each other, it feels like mechanically they're pretty close. I just think that the comp main tank Uther is kind of one-dimensional what it can do, and it's really hamstringing them.
Now we do see the collapse here onto Thunderstruck. He's going to be caught out and taken down. That's a Spoopy walk, not quite enough. Meanwhile, the toss in, but the leap out by Sir Mac and Cheese. Nice counter pick there with that leaping strike. To be able to do that. Meanwhile, Twilight Dream launched right in the middle of this team fight. Hemibo getting very low, but the Sound Barrier going to bring back some of that protection with the shields. Commandeer Odin just doing a ton of damage to main tank Uther. Down goes Jaina, down goes Garrosh, and up and maybe down is going to come Leoric as they're going after Thunderstruck, and leading the charge here is our froggy friend Lucio. But looks like they're all going to make it out just barely for Jimmy there. But that is going to result in Dragon Knight number 3 for the Minion Miners.
Was Rexar in the top lane that whole time? Was that a 5v4 that they won while Rexar was like having a sandwich in top lane? Because it kind of looks like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a longer fight too, even with the level advantage. Took them a while without their Rexar friend, but they did manage to win. And yeah, they're winning on all phases of the game right now. The rotations, the soak, they're getting the Dragon Knights, using that for the siege damage. It's just a very clean game right now for the Minion Miners.
And I think the level difference is actually exasperating the problem of this comp from main tank Uther. Is like Jaina kind of wasn't enough damage when they were even, and now she can't account for the level difference as well.
It's kind of an all or nothing strategy for main tank Uther, and the Sound Barrier has actually been pretty influential as we see it come out. But not the first one. Meanwhile, Rexar, like you said, Still just having a sandwich in the top lane. Though we do have dead Leo up there for right now. Malfurion goes down.
That was a great play by Himibo. He actually interrupted the Twilight Dream. And that ultimately finished off Malfurion. I think this might be it, Jay. The victory march has commenced. Only Jaina is up. Minions are here, although Leo will be here in a moment. Core shields going down. This is going to be close. 10 seconds before reinforcements arrive, but it's going to be real close.
Yeah, Brexar even coming down for this one, so you know it must be the end of the game, because he's done with his sandwich, he's come on down, and Minion Miners going to take game number 2 and force us into a game 3 here in this Division A match.
Yeah, really clean matchup. I think mechanically these two teams feel pretty on par with each other. I think that was it feels like a little too much comp to overcome there by a main tank Uther.
All right, so we will go into game number 3, and we'll give you guys our match summary real quick here before we scoot on over to our last game of the evening. And let's not forget to throw up Minion Miner's point here. There we go. All right, so stat sheet, Goose. What are we seeing here? Well,
honestly, mine didn't pull it up, so I can't see it.
Fair enough. Well, you know, it'll be on the stream in like 30 seconds. So we do have, of course, big damage numbers coming in from Lunara. That spread damage very influential. But Rexar and Tychus keeping pace for sure with the healing numbers. Really, really high for Lucio, of course, even though he's giving you a lot of that mobility and a lot of the extra factor there. But getting the healing numbers through, 16-2 on the kill count, so that kind of telegraphs what the game was like in a lot of ways, kind of like the kill count in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the damage numbers from main tank Uther, and there's just not enough. Yeah. If Jaina wasn't able to secure a kill, that was kind of that. Zarya can only prop up the team for so long. And while Zarya can put out some damage in this game, Jimmy wasn't able to put out the damage that she's capable of for whatever reason. So it really put all of the damage onus on Jaina. But Lunara had more damage, Rexar had more damage, Tychus had more damage. So that was a rough matchup, I think, just kind of from the draft, basically.
All right, we'll give you guys one more look at these talents from Dragonshire before we move on to our game number 3. We're going to take another short break. I'm actually not going to put up any time up on the clock. We'll just come back as soon as these teams are ready to go. We'll see you in a few. Alrighty, we are back. Ready for game number 3. Going to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Now this one is one of my favorite maps, Goose. Very rotation heavy. Wave clear, a very big deal here. And just in general, a pretty fun map. Going back and forth, trying to get these gems turned in.
Yep, and once again, I point out the team that lost, they picked first pick in the draft. Now, last draft, Deathwing went all the way through, so if teams are ignoring the Deathwing, that does give a little more flexibility to that second pick. But we'll see.
Alright, so it looks like these teams are just about ready to go. However, I am frozen again, so...
Bummer.
Ask him to hold on for a second. Yeah, the game really doesn't like to have me changing graphics settings. That's
apparently not.
Not a fan. So I guess I'll just leave it where it was. Better to run the game than to, you know, not be able to run it at all, even if there's just a tiny lag. So what are you looking for from these teams in the draft here for game number 3?
That's a good question. You know, both games for both teams, they did something different from the game before. So showing a lot of flexibility. It wouldn't surprise me to see a Cho'Gall return if it looked good. As Tomb is the map that Cho'Gall can be stronger on because it's smaller, so the lack of a body is not as impactful. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, you mentioned it how interesting it was. There was no Deathwing picked on that last map. I feel like, especially with his global ability, you would think that he's pretty good on that map in general. But maybe neither of these teams were interested in playing him. That for whatever reason, they weren't interested in picking him up.
It says it says you're in lobby, but you were not.
I am now though. Or at least I'm hanging out outside of lobby. I'm joining now though.
There we go. That was weird. It said you were there the whole time.
Yeah.
So they're all good to go if you want to give them.
Alrighty. All right, and in we go for game number 3. Tomb of the Spider Queen. So first pick going over to main tank Uther. See what they have up their sleeves here for the strat. Minion miners getting to pick the map, so we'll see what they have planned on the back half. But like you said, so much advantage for that first pick.
And the consistent thing throughout this set so far is that nobody is going to give the other team Ariel. Let's see if that holds up. Main tank Uther though don't want to see that Lucio again. It was an impact in game 1 for sure, or that game 2 I should say for sure.
Yeah, super effective is the phrase that us Pokemon fans would use. But,
and there it is.
There it is,
no Ariel.
So now we'll see what kind of adjustments main tank Uther wants to make here for the second ban. Lunara very effective and pretty decent on this map as well for her siege damage and that wave clear. But they're going to focus on the Anubarak instead. Also very well played this last game, refusing to be locked down by that Garrosh strategy, and more importantly, that CC up front just so hard to deal with.
Yeah, and some really good cocoons too. But what that tells me is that main tank Uther is going to first pick Johanna. Because Minion Miners, that's their most played tank, and Anubarak is their second most played tank. So if they're banning the Anub on Tomb of the Spider Queen, it tells me they're going to first pick Johanna.
Yeah, the wave clear on this map, the rotational ability, being able to just kind of walk in there and slap someone when they're trying to turn in and just walk away. Like, Johanna's got a lot of great tools for stopping that, but doesn't really need to use them. That she's just so tanky.
The hunt is
And not just that is
Lunara coming out.
yeah, not just that, but it's minion miners prefer tank, so it's a denial as well. So the flip side though is story of the day: Deathwing continuing to be ignored. Lunara and Anduin selected first here for minion miners, and now 2 for main tank Uther.
Yeah, that's an interesting pickup for minion miners. That Anduin, obviously really good healing overall from Anduin, but maybe trying to avoid that healer chokehold. Alexstrasza coming out on the other side, so now it's the tank chokehold that minion miners is going to have to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. I assume there's going to be an ETC ban coming out if they continue to ignore the Deathwing.
Yeah, Sylvanas also picked up here for main tank Uther, so such a strong ability with her to be able to aid in the push. Really, this map mechanics, especially later in the game, is web waivers not very strong, but Sylvanas can really help these guys push and be able to get down the lane more effectively. So I really like that pick here and on pretty much any map that have that kind of pushing mechanic.
All right, well, let's see if the Deathwing continue. And as I predicted, the ETC pick, or ban, I should say, leaving Deathwing still available.
Yeah, we'll have to see if maybe somebody wants to bite on it. No solo laner yet for minion miners, so it could still be picked up. See if they want to. I don't know if Rexar is that effective here. I guess his ability to pick up the gems for you can be nice, but Blaze is going to be the pickup for Himibo. So kind of getting that wave clear and that solo ability all in one hero here.
Yeah, Blaze has kind of worked his way from somebody you picked primarily as an offlaner to somebody you're actually seeing picked more as a main tank. Can still do both, but you're seeing teams main tank Blaze now. There's the Deathwing and Mephisto, so you have a very aggressive getting in their comp, and the Deathwing with the Alexstrasza makes sense. Alexstrasza is the only healer that can support Deathwing really by producing the globes. So that's a nice combination, and of course you get double dragons, which is always fun.
Meanwhile, you got Falstad coming in on the other side to finish up Minion Miners draft. Very damage-heavy team, but also a very squishy team. So we'll have to see which team can really hit home first, because I feel like once the deaths start in these team fights, that each one of these teams are just going to crumple into dust very quickly.
And I'm honestly concerned about Minion Miners because their backline is really squish. Deathwing does a lot of damage, and you literally can't peel Deathwing. So if he just goes back there and is able to unload the damage, there's no disengage, there's no gust, there's no stun, there's no concussion mine, there's nothing that's going to peel the Deathwing off. Wailing Arrow can be shot from pretty far downtown to support the Deathwing. Mephisto can kind of teleport in, do some damage, and also has the heroic, the name I forget, where it's like press the button and everybody takes some damage no matter where they are. So I kind of like what main tank Uther has going here into Minion Miners.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely worth noting that, of course, you can't always try to gust everyone but the Deathwing and try and focus him, but we'll see if that is where this is going.
I mean, not a lot of percentage damage either from Minion Miners. All right, blue team, game 3, Division A. Main tank Uther trying to pick up the win, put themselves right back in the thick of the playoff hunt. We have Tax on Johanna, Thunderstruck on Deathwing, Jimmy on Sylvanas J. Lux, on Mephisto, and Tayuki on Alexstrasza.
And the red team, we've got Minion Miners. Uther going to be playing that Falstad, Himibo on the Blaze, Sir Mac and Cheese on the Lunara, Idric is going to be on the Junkrat, and we have Weskra playing the Anduin.
All right, well, teams obeying the rules of HOTS and going into the ceremonial 5v5 brouhaha in the mid lane. And MTU actually took the brunt of that, as their heroes are all kind of low.
Yeah, everybody's showing up for WrestleMania there in the mid lane.
Absolutely.
Big root coming out, but ultimately we'll see that Iron Skin coming out, and that's Johanna, so she's just fine.
Now, the flip side of this, we talked about all the advantages of the MTU comp. The Minion Miners comp has a ton of like poke damage, like a lot of wear down poke damage. So it's going to be incumbent on MTU to not just kind of sit there and take a bunch of damage for no reason. They want to pick their spots and be in a safe place. But there's Deathwing giving Falstad the old come at me, bro.
Giving him the business. But we do, you know, the other thing that it kind of puts main tank Uther in a weird position here, because they don't want to take poke, but they also don't want to just let Minion Miners rotate for free, because they have not only they have a lot of damage, they have a lot of wave clear because of all that damage. So ultimately, main tank Uther will fall behind in these rotations if they don't fight. But if they do fight, they're going to take a lot of poke. So really, they just got to be patient. They got to wait for the level 10s to come in, make it to the mid game without being too far behind, or they need to engage really fast and take down these squishy heroes like they are right now.
Yeah, and I think that happens when Deathwing is here. If Deathwing is here, and Sylvanas is not here, by the way, worth noting, she went bottom to sneak in those giants. But when Deathwing is here, the whole complexion of the way these engagements goes is just totally different.
Right.
Johanna was going for a condemn engage, but actually got caught in the bear trap from Junkrat, so unable to hit. And the rotations between the teams continues. Lunara had to make a cameo here in the bottom lane to clean up those giants, and you see Deathwing here is just sitting at like full health, not a care in the world.
Yeah, he's not worried about anything. He's just hanging out down here. But,
and Falstad is squishy. He can't trade into that.
No, not at all. Uther is in all kinds of trouble down here. No mana, half health, and Deathwing's just having a field day. Meanwhile, up top, the rotation's starting to go into main tank Uther's favor. I like them kind of changing up the script, sending Sylvanas down. Kind of, you know, you force your enemy to react to you, and then you kind of control the map rotations. Big condemn coming in, hitting all four. The blind coming in as well. J-Lux going in, trying to get some extra damage in, but ultimately everyone get a walk away just fine. Turn-in's coming in though for Jimmy. Gonna put a little bit of a gem count up, and Uther gonna have to hit that concussion mine to get out. Dodge.
Yeah, welcome to those of you who are watching the NGS channel. This is an NGS Division A game between main tank Uther and Minion Miners, currently tied at 1-1. And Minion Miners, Jay, they were kind of controlling this rotation in the first few minutes, but it kind of seems like main tank Uther has been slowly taking that momentum back.
Yeah, it's been a little bit back and forth, but now Jimmy getting kind of low, gonna have to back up. They'll still have the ability to jump out there with that haunting wave, but big damage coming in from Timmy Bow up front there. Mephisto
nice job
having to jump out there.
Yeah, nice job by Tax of actually eating the Junkrat grenades there for Mephisto as well.
But meanwhile, Turn-In coming in here for the side of main tank Uther, so they're going to look to try and build up a little bit of momentum. They go back and tap and get fully healed. Mephisto jumping up, getting some good damage up top. Trying to put a little pressure on it. Of course, with Sylvanas, you're going to have a little bit of extra pushing power unless Minion Miners do something about it here.
Yeah, they are putting 4-man in the tops. Deathwing is still in the bottom, where they actually sent 2 down here, but Deathwing's very hard to gank. They're not going to get anything out of that, and it's going to allow this Sylph to really push in top with a kind of overreaction to the bottom, with Lunara and Falstad both being sent to deal with Deathwing, who just kind of walks the other direction. Top port going down.
Yeah, very, very nice play. Good focus from the side of main tank Uther on that top lane. And they do manage to clean up the bot lane, but you're right, Goose. You know, it's a matter of at what cost. Ultimately, though, they only lose the 1 fort And the front walls, a little bit of damage on the other two forts, but not really much of a level advantage gained here, so they're still in this one, but look out, Falstad in all kinds of trouble, and that's going to be 11 gems hitting the floor as well.
Yeah, main tank Uther is kind of slowly asserting control over this game. They are winning the race to 10, and although it was only one fort, on the first turn-in, you don't usually get too much value. They might get a second fort right here if they choose to step in. But it was top fort, Jay, and that's boss lane.
Right, yeah, definitely the highest priority lane up there. Good to be able to get mid as well to try and cut off some of the rotations to these Web Weaver turn-ins. But a little bit of a gem dump going on here. Johanna, one of the toughest ones to get turned in, gets her gems turned in on the bot. Meanwhile, Falstad having to answer to a big wave down in the bot lane, so a little bit of extra siege damage from the just from the minions down there in the bot lane, putting a lot of pressure on the second fort there.
Yeah, Deathwing has been putting a lot of pressure down here, beating up that Falstad again. However, this time Red does get the Minion Miners get a turn in, and this is a 5-man rotation to try to get Deathwing, and they can't get him because he's Deathwing. Here's counter engage. Goodbye, Falstad. Junkrat joins him as well, as will Anduin. A huge flanking counter engage because Deathwing.
Yeah, that was, they shot their shot to try and get Deathwing, but again, if you can't get him quickly, you know that rotation's coming in from the mid. We kind of saw that a little bit in game 1 from Minion Miners. They just kind of overreached. Level 10s came in, and that's an easy fight for main tank Uther. Not only that, but it's a timely team fight win because now it's going to be easy for them to be able to clean up these Web Weavers, and so it's pretty much just 50 gems down the drain for Minion Miners on top of losing that team fight.
Yeah, really minimal value out of the turn-in. Falstad driving a low-health Deathwing back. But over here, there goes the big root from the Mephisto. Protect from Anduin going out, and they do get the kill on Sylvanas. So Minion Miner roaring back, and they're going to counter. As soon as we said no value out of this turn-in, they say, casters, you don't know what you're talking about. And watch us do this thing right here. Johanna in trouble. The Junkrat mine actually takes her out of trouble temporarily. There goes the Riptire, hits 2. Mephisto gets leapt on with a jet propulsion by Himibo. But the fort still stands. There goes Cataclysm, but Thunderstruck all by himself.
Oh,
I think
no!
that was a miscommunication there from main tank Uther. Just not being on the same page there, I think. Level 10s, we have Durns of Hate for Mephisto. Burn Beneath My Shadow for Deathwing, Wailing Arrow for Sylvanas, Blessed Shield by Johanna, and Cleansing Flame for Alex Straza.
Meanwhile, for Minion Miners, they've got the Riptire along with Immolation. They've got the, what is that? That's Prayer of Healing? There we go.
Holy Word Salvation.
That's what that is. Leaping Strike. And of course, the Mighty Gust. Boss going to be picked up as well here for Minion Miners. So roaring back in this one, just when you thought they might be kind of falling a little bit by the wayside here, having a bad team fight or two. You're right, they came rip-roaring back, and now they seem like they're gaining control over this map.
Yeah, but the boss is going to be negated by the turn-in, and the turn-in is going to be negated by the boss. So kind of both teams just playing cleanup. Top fort finally does go down. Bottom fort went down as well. And I think the end result of all of this, once the boss is dead and the turn-in is dead, is that the structures will be almost even. Main tank Uther up 1 additional fort, I think, when all is said and done.
Now, Junkrat on cleanup duty down in the bot lane. That one's going down pretty quickly. And, you know, it's structure advantage. Big deal here for main tank Uther, but making them kind of choose between that bottom lane and protecting this mid fort. Riptire gonna be taken down a little bit early there. Dragons of Plenty over on the side right now of main tank Uther, but the Gust gonna try and get them out of trouble a little bit, but Himipo gonna be able to just barely make it out down through that bot area. The fort does go down. Yeah, lots of low health bars here, but ultimately we will see both teams walking away without any deaths. But a little bit more damage up in top that they're going to see cleaned up for the side of Minion Miners.
And that mid fort went down, so ultimately main tank Uther got what they wanted out of that. But in the middle of that fight, we had the big Cataclysm onto the back line, and that's a little bit of what I was kind of worried about when this draft ended. Just Deathwing just went right in on the back, and there really wasn't an answer for it. I mean, they did almost kill him. I suppose that is a good answer, right?
That's the answer you're looking for, Goose, but
It is.
it's almost there. Camp picked up here in the mid lane. Both teams pretty even now, actually, in level. Still got that structure advantage right now for main tank Uther, but still anybody's game here in game number 3. I do want to give a shout out to the NGS channel for the host. Thank you very much, guys. And thank you to everyone who's just joining us here for this game number 3 here in Division A. Indibo going to be stepping forward, trying to find something. Give a little bit of room for Sir Mac of Cheese to turn in. And he does manage to get that in right before Deathwing drops in. And then we'll see Lunara hopping on away from the big scary dragon.
Yeah, the Minion Miners here have enough for the turn-in. Neither team is going to win the race to 16, so this is just going to kind of be a skirmish to see who blinks first, basically. Who makes the first mistake and secures the first kill. And there... Oh, what a...
Holy Word Salvation!
Holy Word Salvation!
Batman.
Holy moly! That saved at least one kill and secured a double kill and a team fight. Weskra with the play of the game so far.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, that's not a heroic that we see be quite that influential all that often. But there's not a whole lot over on the side of main tank Uther to interrupt that salvation. So,
well, I mean, they have the walking interrupt.
Wailing Arrow.
And Wailing Arrow.
Yeah.
As well as Deathwing has it interrupt for it as well. But Weskra, making the plays. Mid-fort's going to go down. And we have a whole new game. Both teams going to be even in levels here with a slight lead for Minion Miners. The structures, they're going to be dead even after the sport goes down.
And really, Goose, how else would you want to spend a Sunday night? Watching two NGS teams going back and forth here. A true tug of war in terms of momentum here in game number 3. On pretty much my favorite map, so here we go.
Yeah, this has been a good one, but what a kind of an awkward angle here for Minion Miners. They're split by terrain, coming in from a couple different directions. Blaze caught out a little far forward. However, Deathwing kind of walked the long way here. The pull coming in late. Blaze goes down, and there goes Falstad, who actually barrel rolled in, forced to use Gust, but the Durance of Hate roots him in for now, once again. Holy Word Salvation, but I don't think this one's going to matter nearly as much.
And not only that, but it's going to put Wesker way out of position, and now here comes main tank Uther as the continual seesaw of momentum that we're seeing in this matchup is going to go on back over to main tank Uther, and we'll see what these guys can do with it this time around.
I wonder if they're gonna. They don't quite have turn in. It looks like they're gonna go for boss. Junkrat might kind of figure that that's what they're doing. He's gonna get some free siege damage and then run in the bush and press B. Does Deathwing find him? Yes.
Oh,
and
no.
now Junkrat in a little bit of trouble.
Maybe. No, he's got Ripper Air. He's out.
All right, he's good.
fine.
He is out. Meanwhile, boss is going down. Deathwing in the minimap still in pursuit, but won't quite get there. Boss secured by main tank Uther, right as the rest of Minion Miners is rejoining the map from the Hall of Storms.
So boss now out on the map. They're gonna dump the coins. They don't have quite enough gems right now to turn in coins. That's the other one. My bad. We're talking about gems here on this map. When was the last time you talked about coins on a cast, Goose?
And a cast? It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
Back in cheerleague days.
Yeah, a long time. There
Rip
goes the
Tire coming in.
A lot of value. Holy Word Salvation used. Not a lot of value there either.
Very early.
Yeah, boss getting burned pretty quick though, and that's a about it. A lot of buttons were pressed, but neither side getting a whole lot done. But that's a win for Minion Miners because they're the ones that had the boss running at them.
Yeah, they really needed to just stop that big push coming into the top lane, that priority lane with the boss. Later in the match, they really want that keep to be alive just in case they need to have some kind of buffer. But now, we do see main tank Uther with enough gems to turn in here. Both teams going to have those camps in the mid lane. A little bit of an advantage here for Minion Miners with the siege camp bot, but nothing that main tank Uther can't clean up. And again, we're pretty much even on level here, Goose.
Yeah, absolutely. The initiation goes on to Blaze, who's taking a lot of poke damage, slowly walking the other direction. Concussion Mine kind of broke that up, but here comes main tank Uther. There's a huge cataclysm. Falstad has already gone down. The rest of Minion Miners are scampering away for their lives. That will assuredly lead to a turn-in for main tank Uther, and that is the problem with Deathwing. There, if you just position not quite right, you can't peel the guy off you.
There's really just a zero margin for error for Minion Miners. They've got to play it perfect, and because then you got one dragon flying at you from one way, you got another dragon dropping searing flame on you from above, and just so much mobility overall in main tank Uther. Like Johanna's the slowest one on the team as she marches up front there.
And let me tell you, tanking against a Deathwing is kind of a weird experience. Because you almost ignore it, like you can't peel it, and if you're a tank, you're not doing significant damage likely. It's a very weird thing to do because it totally changes how you tank for a team with the existence of a Deathwing. Top keep going down. Speaking of Deathwing, he has arrived in fashion, and they're making a 5v5 core call. This might be a little bit ambitious. Big Riptire hits 2. And now main tank Uther pulling out as Cataclysm was kind of used defensively. I think Deathwing is in trouble.
Level 20 coming in just in time for Minion Miners.
Nope.
The Blaze goes
I was wrong.
first. And the turnaround. Don't mess with the Dragon team, Goose. I'm telling you, they've got too many resources. They defended the core. They needed to just drop back, and now they're paying the price.
MVP of this game, assuming it ends here, which it's going to, is Jalux or J-Lux on the Mephisto. The Durances of Hate were all money. They set up so much, and right there at the end, that was the big root that set up the turn that won this game for main tank Uther, and they are right back in it, fighting for that 8th seed in the playoffs.
Game number 3, the main tank Uther, and they are going to win the series, and we will reach out to the captain here, see if we can get ourselves a quick little interview. But first, let's get on over to our match summary and take a look at these stats. You guys, one last look at the talents. And, you know, Mephisto, not the flashiest character in the game. He's very, you know, like, not bursty damage, but just kind of consistent, annoying damage. He's very hard to pin down. But then you look at the stat sheet at the end, 58k damage, and you can kind of see where that effectiveness came in throughout the matchup.
Yeah, and at the end, while MTU was disengaging, Jalux hit the big Durance of Hate. It went on to Blaze initially, and then I think hit Anduin maybe? But with the 20 upgrade on the Silence, that turn was there. That was just the end of that. There were so many big Durances hit by Mephisto that game, setting up the kills. And then, of course, the quad backline. Deathwing going Cataclysm on the back kind of whenever he felt like it, other than the one time where he kind of YOLO'd in and the team wasn't quite behind him. Nice. This was a really fun set between these guys.
Really back and forth series. You know, just when you thought Minion Miners was rolling in to finish them off there, trying to get that bottom keep, the big turn, and then you know, it still just kind of went back and forth for a while. But Looks like we are going to get the tank player here, Tax. So we will see if we can't hop into a lobby real quick. You want to meet me in... it looks like Tax is waiting for us in general. For NGS.
All right, let's go there.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
That was weird. What's up?
Congratulations. Nice win. How you guys feeling right now?
We're feeling actually really good because we need these wins.
Yeah, big points near the end of the season. Back and forth series. Anything in particular you want to point out about your match here with Minion Miners?
I mean, it was a lot. It was like a lot of fun to play because they constantly had like rotations on us and stuff like that, or vice versa. It felt like even, which is always those are my preferred kind of matches. So
Yeah, it seemed like it was very evenly matched overall. You guys traded a couple of games. Going back to the first one, we saw you guys on Volskaya. Definitely in control throughout the entire match. Tell me a little bit about your drafting process for that one, how you approached it, and how you were able to control it throughout the game.
well, once we saw the Alex pick, we kind of assumed Cho'Gall because it's been a thing that's been kind of rising up a bit because of his buffs, and we feel like we know how to play against Cho'Gall pretty well. So it really just came down to executing our game plan, which I guess it worked a lot better than we planned.
Right, yeah, for sure. Great control over the toys overall, and you guys just kept it rolling. And then we go into game number 2. And it seemed like you guys had a little struggle keeping them off the Dragon Knight on Dragonshire.
I don't remember game number 2. I don't. That happened.
That's a good answer.
That was what map was that? Like Dragonshire? I don't even know. But we tried a comp that we put a little bit of practice into, and they played around it really well. We were flabbergasted, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it felt like that comp in game 2. You guys had something in mind with it, and it did that one thing really well. But when Minion Miners kind of stayed out of that, it kind of seemed inflexible. Like you guys kind of weren't able to pivot just because of the limitations of the heroes after that.
That's pretty much it. Is we had a plan. They saw the plan. They beat the plan, and we didn't have a backup.
So I have 2 questions. First one, Deathwing. Game 1, first ban phase, like it has been largely in NGS lately. Game 2, completely ignored. Game 3 falls to the end of the draft. Where do you guys think that he kind of fits right now generally? Did the nerfs earlier this week mean that he's going to get through the ban phases now, or is he still super strong?
Nah, I don't think that the nerfs hit him super hard in terms of like his strength. I think teams as time is going on are just finding ways to deal with him, so they're less afraid of him.
Sure.
Because when he first came out, he was a big problem because no one knew how to deal with a character that you couldn't do anything to. So I feel like as time goes on, teams are going to figure out him more, and he'll fall through a little bit more draft phases. Or not even be picked at all. Like the second game, we didn't pick him because we felt like we had our own game plan in mind, and we didn't think that he would fit.
So last question, game 3. Is it J-Lux? Is that how he likes to pronounce it, or J-Lux?
Yes, it's
J-Lux. J-Lux with the Durance of Hates. They seem to be always money. Talk about those.
So there's a big running joke in the team itself, is because J-Lux does like Mephisto. He thinks it's a good character. I think Mephisto's great and has really good use when used properly, and J-Lux does really well with him. But a big joke we have is he can't land endurances, and even in those games, he landed a bunch of crucial ones, but I saw him miss several as well. So I can't wait to flame him later when we go over it.
But he hit the clutch ones, Tax. He hit the clutch ones.
I believe it all stemmed off one game where he hit 1 out of like 9.
But
So
was that the one that won the game?
I think it might have been.
Because that one at the end, as you guys were falling back from the core, was big time. That was a big time play.
Well, a lot of it comes from me having to throw shields at the target so they don't move. It's easier for my team to hit stuff because I gotta brag just to piss them off. It brings me enjoyment.
Well, tanks never get any love, man. You got to point out your own stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone likes to yell at us because we die, but I die for my team.
There you go. Everybody loves to focus on the damage dealers, but
It's all right.
who's setting that up? I mean, really.
It's okay. When we're not there, they complain. When we are there, they complain. It's the life,
All right, so we're going into game 3. It's Tomb of the Spider Queen. You guys get double dragon mayhem. Just give me your thoughts on game 3 and this back and forth seesaw momentum and all the craziness we saw on that map.
So, it was really weird the Falstad pick because Deathwing was available and he is a capable soul laner. So when we saw their draft started with Lunara, I think Anduin, and then I swear they picked Falstad and then Junkrat. I think Junkrat was in the last of their picks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
I think it was the other way around. It was Junkrat, Blaze, and then Falstad was last. They could have taken it instead of the Junkrat or the Blaze.
Yes, we saw very a squishy team.
Right.
So we went with Deathwing because it also wasn't a team that could really do a lot to Deathwing unless he was by himself, which I believe he did die once.
I mean, even when he was by himself, like that full rotation onto him in the bot lane still didn't get him.
No, the only time he died was when he kind of cataclysmed in, and I assume there was a miscue in comms because he cataclysmed in and was just kind of hung out to dry, and they just obliterated him. That was, I think, his only death.
So I mean, earlier, it really I think it just comes down to teams know how to play him, but he also it's not something you could just play against like normal. You have to draft to beat a Deathwing. It's just his counters actually as my teammate messaged me, they actually work now as opposed to in the start where you could pick a counter against him and yet he would still kind of facial you.
Well, that was a fun set, and I think you guys are right in the mix of that playoff hunt now, man. Right in there.
We're trying our best. I do know that it's not all in our control. Like we could win all of our games and still might not make it. So we're gonna try our best to make sure we win all of our games, and then just hope on the teams. Hope the cards fall correctly.
All right. Well, before we let you go, want to roll out the red carpet for you and give you the floor. Would you like to make any shout-outs?
I mean, I'll shout out my team, of course. They played well tonight. Communication was clear. Little things in the second game, but that never happened, so it's fine. I thank you guys for casting. It takes a lot out of your day and that's pretty much it. I don't really have any other shout-outs. My team, I'm happy that we're improving.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in for the interview, spending a little extra time coming out at the end, and congratulations on the win, man.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, Goose, why don't we jump back into chat here? Got to get that Goose Cam back up for y'all for the end here. There we go. Goose Cam.
So people can see that I'm still in my pajamas.
Yes, but it would be good if I was actually on the right scene. There we go. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching tonight. Again, big thank you for the host from the NGS channel. It was nice seeing everybody hop in for that big Game 3 action. And Mongoose, thank you very much for joining me, man. Do you have any shout-outs before we go?
No, I just enjoy casting with somebody as opposed to solo. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah, of course. Always fun to jump in and it's good to be back for the end of season 8. I'll probably be picking up a few more of these matches down the stretch. So feel free to hit that follow button. Come back for more NGS action, and let's of course not forget to shout out our Patreon. Be back in 1 second. We got a lot of cool stuff going on over at the Patreon. Go over, check it out, see what rewards they got going. What this guy right here mostly is going on for.
Yep, we released Death Goose this week. Death Goose released this week. Death Goose wallpaper.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like our NGS rewards. That fits very well. But thanks again, everyone, for coming out. We'll see you guys next time. And for NGS, I'm Jason. He's Mongoose. And we'll see you all next time. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.